Okay.
Good morning, everybody. Those of you who are watching this, we wish you were here with us right now, but life is happening for everybody. I need to shut some things down, I think, because I'm going to have some noise going on here. But today we have with us Anne, who is a school teacher, one of the most amazing school teachers I know. And I'm biased, I don't care. But her approach to her class is one of the things that I find interesting in as everybody's adjusting to corona and getting back on track, because I think this all started with spring break. Kids left for spring break, and the next thing you know, they're not going back to school. Oh my God. I was one of those people that did the oh my God as well. So we're going to let Anne talk about her experience and how she's adjusted and how she's helped her littles cope and how she's helped their parents cope and what's working and what's not working. So Anne, take it away.
Thank you. Thanks so much for the invitation, Tara. And um, I appreciate being able to be here and talk about this. As she said, I'm Ann Hawkins. I am an educator. This is my 20th year of teaching,
Mhm.
and I've never had a more bizarre year, to be honest. Um, in my teaching career, I've taught from the college level, I've taught adults, I've taught all the way down to four and 5-year-olds, and currently I'm a second grade teacher in the USD 437 school system. So I started the school year, of course, as every teacher and family member and student did in the classroom. And then, as Tara said, I think we got the message Saturday, the last weekend of spring break, that we would not be returning to school till perhaps March 30th when it would be reevaluated. And now, as you know, if everyone with a student in their family or a student or teacher as a loved one knows, it's indefinite. We're not certain when we'll be back in the buildings, and we're not certain when we'll be back together. So, of course, this has impacted families, uh, the families of teachers, and certainly the families of students in major ways. And the other thing to say about this is it's unprecedented. I'm a historian. I've been a historian for over 20 years, and it's unprecedented in the history of the world what we're doing right now in terms of having to turn on the dime in a very quick way. The last time we had really global pandemics of this scope, we did not have public schooling on this scope. So it's really unprecedented. So, having said that, the thing that cheers my heart the most is how fabulous families are doing. Now, most people don't feel like they're doing a fabulous job. And so I think that's one of the reasons why, Tara, you invited me to talk, and I really appreciate being able to do that. So I want to start by saying the best thing we can all give ourselves right now, ourselves, our students, our teachers, our families, is grace. Heaping cupfuls of grace. Because if you're trying your best, that is the very best that you can do. So it's unprecedented. The elementary school that I teach in has a number of parents, and including in my classroom. I want to protect their privacy as much as possible, but I'll just say in sweeping terms, including in my classroom, parents have lost their jobs, or parents' hours have increased online. And many of them are also trying to teach or at least monitor their students' learning, and so many things going on at one time. So we'll start with give yourself grace and just do the best you can.
Definitely. So, as I shared before we started recording, I know that there are so many students who um, didn't have the technology, and once they got the technology, didn't have the internet access. And that's one of the biggest things that I've experienced with my kiddos, is that I'm hearing that either they or their peers don't have access to the internet. And I'm resourceful, probably more so because I'm more mobile than a lot of my clients' parents. And I've been reaching out to businesses and to churches to say, hey, you have kids in your area. Would you mind opening your internet during the daytime so these kids can come and sit in your parking lot and download their assignments and everything? And that works for some of them. But for many of them, it's not helpful because they have to finish the assignment and submit it all at the same time. So what would you as an educator tell your kiddos if that's the case for them, because they can't sit in the parking lot all day and they have assignments that are due? So what options would you offer to your kiddos in that case?
That's a great question. There are a couple of things that immediately leap to mind. And the first one is let your teacher or teachers know your situation, because um, they, most teachers are going to be extremely compassionate. And again, we go back to grace on this. The teachers that I know in the Topeka area, as well as across the state and across the nation, are all recommending the same thing. Let us know what your situation might be. Let us know what you need for help. There is no shame at all in saying my internet connection doesn't work, because you know what? That happens for affluent families. It happens for transient families. It's happening across the board.
Mm-hmm.
So number one, if you've got an internet connection, that says nothing about you other than you can't get on the internet. So there's no shame in saying, I need help. And in fact, we as teachers beg our students to let us know that, because there is nothing scarier for a teacher than not hearing from their student. That really is, that's what keeps me up at night. Those students I haven't heard from yet, that I fear it's because they don't have an internet connection or something's going on with their phone. So that would be the first resource. Talk to your teacher. We will bend over backwards, and our districts are empowering us to do whatever we can to do to help, to either get internet access to you in creative ways that maybe you haven't thought of, or as a family, or to extend other learning opportunities to you. This does not have to be a time of strictly online learning. And we're all getting really, really creative. So that means that, almost every district that I'm aware of in the area has packets or some type of print way that they are going about distributing assignments besides online.
Mm-hmm.
There are lots of ways you can turn in assignments besides online. If you have access to a smartphone, you can snap a photo of your document and send that by email or text message or something to your teacher. So that's the first thing that I would suggest. Let your teacher know what your situation is, and they can get real creative, including porch drops, or we'll meet you at the pharmacy or the grocery store or some essential business that's open, and we can pass papers in a bag to one another in the parking lot. The second thing again would be to recognize that there are these other community resources around. And so again, talking with your teacher or talking to organizational members, church members. There are the library, at one point I had heard, was looking at trying to move their Wi-Fi boxes in places where people could maybe sit in the parking lot and access internet. So there are the community resources as well as your teacher.
I have heard that as well. I posted when I first learned of the internet situation. Someone that works at the library told me that their stuff is still working. So if kids wanted to have their parents take them to the library and sit in the parking lot, they could do that, which is great. But as you were saying that, I just remembered the Cap-Fed Community Care Station. That is another resource that is available for individuals to exchange paper. You reach out to the community action, call them and let them know what it is you're doing, and they will set it up so that the individuals can come through the drive-through. And because it's the old bank, they have the little chutes and the paperwork can go in there and get back and forth. And that's another resource that's available. I think that is so great. What is one of the most creative things that you've done to accommodate your students?
Let's see. One of the things that I've been doing is I have been sending a daily email where I make a recording of of what was essentially our morning meeting. So we started out the day in a particular way with particular ritual and routine. And I should say, for a second grade class, ritual and routine is really important, but it's also important to our older learners also. So, having ritual and routine at home is really, really helpful for students learning at home, as well as for parents and older siblings who are helping. You have your own work, and you're also monitoring the work of younger people.
Mhm.
Ritual and routine it's really part of connectedness, and it's important. So one of the things that I've been trying to do is to maintain that as I can. I make a voice recording, which kiddos can hear on a phone. They don't have to have, a laptop or Chromebook or tablet. And I try to do our morning meeting. So I start out with the greeting that we would always do. I ask a question. We would go around the circle, and we would always ask kind of a fun question like, what's your favorite dessert, or what sport do you enjoy watching versus playing, or something like that. So I'll ask the question. We'll have news that takes the place of kind of our school announcements. And then I do a read aloud of a chapter of a book or a story. And then at the end, we had a class pledge. And our class pledge was, today I will be my best me, with good thoughts, good words, and good deeds for myself, my community, and my world. And so I always ended that way. This has been, I don't know that it's all that creative. It's not, pneumatic tubes sending papers around, which I think is fabulous. But it is certainly a different way that I would have taught before. And I have been surprised at how much impact that small thing has done, that daily ritual. So I just want, again, to emphasize how awesome families and students and teachers and the support of the community, how awesomely they are innovating and creating. We've been at this 30 days, and like you're saying, Tara, already the community has stepped up with these creative and innovative ways to support families, and that's just fabulous.
Awesome. So we've got some people on. Moms, do you guys have any questions?
Sure. So you mentioned the students that, or one of your worst fears is not hearing from a student. When it gets to a point where it's been so long, how do you reach out to make sure that student's okay, or just to some kind of...
Yes, that's a great question. So each teacher, probably every district, has a different practice. But this is what I'm doing, and this is what the district support and the building support is doing. I try every day. I have 2 students that I have yet to see or talk to them or their families, and I try every day to reach them by telephone. There are daily emails, the traditional lines of communication. But I will also try to go by their house just to see if it looks like there's activity around the home. Sometimes I know that students are living with other family members. They might be with mom for a week and dad for the next week or something like that. So I just try to gauge and see. My biggest concern is their well-being. Their safety, their security, and are they safe? Are they fed? And all those kinds of things. Then I reach out also to the school support. So our school has breakfast and lunch pickups every day, where anybody can drive through and pick up breakfast and lunch for their child ages 1 through 18. And so I'll talk to staff. Have you seen so-and-so? Because those pickup lines are staffed by the cafeteria professionals who've been, they also miss these kids too. So that can be a comfort, to know that the family's coming through and picking up meals. Great. Then that lessens my worry and concern. I know the child is fine, even if the child isn't isn't actively submitting work or anything. Now, if staff haven't seen them going through the breakfast line, then our mental health team at our school, our social workers, our school counselors, um, those folks will be trying to reach out to the families as well. And again, I think there's some that may be concerned that, if there may be concerns by families about, truancy, or if they don't make a contact, there's automatically a phone call to DCF. Um, our primary concern is just to know that the child is with loving family and being taken care of. And there's not any concern right now. We're wanting to make sure that those basic needs are met, and then if they're learning, excellent. And then we try to just step that up then to see how can we help the child then learn, transition through this strange period of time, again, where we have to give everybody grace, because parents may be juggling their own workload or their lack of work, and education is really not as important, but I say that with the heart of an educator. That's not as important at this point, though, as making sure that the child's basic needs for love and security and nurturing are being met. So those are the steps we take.
So I want to jump in here really quick and ask for the parents. I've seen a lot of parents posting on Facebook about how much of a struggle it is. I'm not a math person, never have been, never will be. Statistics is not math, let me preface that. But how do you as an educator support the parent who now has to help their child learn that new math? Definitely not for me. Definitely not for me. So how do you support the parents as they're supporting the kiddos?
That's a fantastic question. The bulk of the work that I've been doing right now is teaching parents, to be honest. And I love working with parents. I mean, I'm a working mom. I'm a parent. I should say that for 8 years, I chose to homeschool a child while I was a solo parent and a working parent. So I understand what it's like firsthand to juggle the work, the one income, or sometimes no income while you're educating your child at home and so forth. So I understand that. The big difference is I made that choice. Parents didn't make that choice now. It was one that was, circumstances have thrown it on them. So the big thing that I've been trying to do is to support the parents, because they're in most cases with second graders, certainly with probably sixth graders and younger, parents are really going to have to be helping much more than they might have done with homework or in other cases. So lots of ways to help parent support. Number one, again, passing along that grace and a lot of encouragement. Whatever the parent is doing or trying, that's a blessing to your child. Even if you have decided that, no learning is going to take place this week because the family stress level is so high, and there are other work or non-work related things, that's still a blessing to that child to make that priority. Because the most important thing right now for our kiddos at home is they have these questions, they have worries and concerns, and they're going to feed off of the mental health and the regulation of the adults in their home. And so I try to encourage parents wherever they're at and let them, because most of us are not tech marvels. I wasn't. And so we're all learning this together. So once again, there's no shame in saying, I don't know how to I've never even opened my child's email or whatever. That's okay. Right now, judgment is completely off the table. I mean, I think it always has been for the most part, but right now there's no judgment. It's all about helping one another and supporting one another and loving one another through this. And so I've been teaching a lot of technology to parents. Some of that technology, I must confess, I maybe have 1 or 2 days advanced knowledge on them. And so, as I said, we're learning it together.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever the parent needs. I have driven found spare laptops in my home and from other donors, and driven those devices to homes with a note, to the child, dear child, this is yours now. Um, helping with food resources, anything that can try to lessen and diminish the stress. I'm a religious person, so I've prayed with parents. I've had them cry on my shoulder on the phone, just whatever you need. I think the big thing to emphasize is we really are in this together. Public schooling is all about community, and so yeah, whatever you need. That's what I've been spending the bulk of my time doing.
As a therapist, I think that's one of the things that I have come to recognize as well. The parents' stress level of everything that's going on in the home, and not being able to support their kids the way they think they should. And I've had to encourage them to exercise grace as well, because this isn't what you do. You're a parent. The teaching part, that's the teacher, and that's the school. So it's okay for you to say, I don't know. It's
Mhm.
okay for you to reach out to other resources. I've had parents ask me, do you know anyone that is proficient at, and absolutely, let me give you what I've got. And I think that one of the plus things that's come out of this whole thing is that I had a kid tell me yesterday that we're learning life lessons. This is teaching us all life lessons. I wanted to hug her through the screen because I was not expecting that answer from her. But to see the growth in her and her family really encouraged me that, as horrible as this thing is, there are some positives that are coming out of it. And so I've started doing like a scavenger hunt with all of my kiddos and having them, before we even start, okay, you're supposed to show me something that um, is exciting. One of my kids calls it a pow and a wow. The wow is the exciting thing, and the pow is the I could have done this better kind of thing. And it's working. So I like that aspect of everything that's going on.
What you said about life lessons, I think, is so important.
Mm-hmm.
This is 1/4 of a child's entire academic career,
Mm-hmm.
K through 12. It's more important for those high schoolers, certainly 10th, 11th, and 12th graders, to make sure that they're on top of everything. But if it's life lessons that is the education that you're getting done at home, that is fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Because really, the best that I could wish for is that our kiddos and our families come out of this with a resilience, with an understanding that together they can meet these kinds of obstacles. Yes, everybody's going to get frustrated. In fact, you may find that your child has regressed. There may be regression issues at home that are causing additional stress for parents. Maybe your younger child is clingy. Maybe they've started crawling into your bed at night, or they're wetting the bed, or they're thumb sucking. Maybe your teenager is withdrawn, or more combative, or and those kinds of regressive behaviors are simply a form of communication, to say that the child, the student, the young person is trying to cope with things that are beyond yet their mastery. So in terms of life lessons, if you can help your child come through this with a resiliency, that is far better than calculus. It's far better than, the quadratic formula, or learning your shapes or your alphabet.
Mm-hmm.
For a child to know how to cope, to be able to talk with someone who loves them, to connect, that connectedness, to have a sense of routine and order, that helps reduce anxiety in so many. Just to
Absolutely.
know, and And that includes the schoolwork part too. So for instance, for second grade, Kansas recommends 30 minutes a day in math, 30 minutes a day in reading and language arts. That's it, 60 minutes. As the kids can do more if they want to. But to just understand that, you know, a little bit goes a long way right now in terms of academics, and those life lessons are the big things. You know, have your teach a new skill. Your middle school kid is not too young or too old to learn how to do laundry or wash those dishes or you know, chores around the house, change the oil in the car, you know, whatever. And that would be my best hope, that we come out of this stronger and knowing that, you know, communication is really important.
So one last question that I have, I saw in the news this morning where there was an educator talking about the summer regression that happens when kids are out of school over the summer. And she said that it's going to be even more significant now because there's a corona regression on top of that. So what are you doing to kind of stave that off for your second graders? How young?
There is something that's called the summer slide,
Mhm.
and it's most pronounced for kiddos who don't read, who aren't reading. Um, so we see it each year. You know, very often at the end of the year, most districts, most certainly elementary level classes, but also middle and high school students are, as well, kind of tested in terms of what are their skills and abilities, what can they do, and then when coming back in after, you know, the summer in August or September, those tests are repeated. And it's astonishing.
Mhm.
You can tell right away which kiddos have read books over the summer and which haven't. I had second graders who had lost a whole year's worth of progress made over 3 months in the summer. The difference, no, they didn't read. Nobody had a library book, you know, so that is the number one and single most important thing that we can do for and with kiddos of any age. A lot of times families will be really diligent about reading to their toddler, reading to their lower elementary grade student, and then they stop doing that. But reading aloud is something that can be helpful and impactful even when the student can read themselves. An adult usually can read at a higher level, a higher reading level than the child themselves. And so it's just really important to continue reading with students. Those older, more capable readers, let them read to you, but also read books or magazines, newspapers, blogs, whatever you enjoy reading
Mhm.
with and to your children as well. Um, and read, this is a perfect time for students to be able to follow their own interests. So if your kiddo is just really interested in race cars or walruses or fashion design, whatever it is, let them follow their own interests. So those will be the two things I would say I'm encouraging parents to do to not only stave off the corona regression, but the summer slide as well. Let your child follow his or her own interests as deep and as wide as they will go. And if they're going to hop around interests, excellent. Let them do that.
That's
And
great.
read every day, at least half an hour.
That is great. So that is our time today. I am so happy that you did this. I knew it would be great. I knew we'd have some lot of good information, especially with things changing so much. People thought that May 1st things would go back to normal, and apparently that's not going to happen. I'm frankly not excited about any dates anymore, simply because I'm just glad to go one moment to the next. And I'm telling my clients that as well. So next week is going to be really interesting. Um, the Tribe for Life has some guys in it. They don't typically hang out when we do girl stuff, but they are both going to do conversations on the same day. One is about business and one is about IT technical stuff. And so we're going to have Doug Stahlbaumer and Ashley Wallace participating in Vibe with the Tribe. So we hope to see you guys next week. So thank you, Anne. I am so appreciative, and I cannot wait until we get together to do the girls Tribe for Life, because we are so overdue right now.
Yes.
Anna's on here. She's muted, and I'm so glad she was here. And Toya's here as well. She's part of the tribe as well. So I will see you guys. She unmuted herself. Do you want to say a really quick word?
No,
Yeah.
I just realized I was muted.
Have you been talking this whole time?
No, I haven't.
Okay. Okay.
I may be saying stuff like, oh yeah, but
That's great. Okay, so thank you, ladies. Thank you, Anne. This was great. And I'm going to go right now and figure out how to post all of these so people can see them, and then just keep adding to them, because this information is priceless, basically.
Yeah.
So bye, ladies.
Thank you for doing.
Thank you,
You're
Anne.
so welcome. Have a good afternoon. It is only 10:30. I'm going to go get some more coffee. Can you tell I need it? Bye, guys.
Bye.